I'm going to take on two items. One, I'll use a PowerPoint slide and talk about the Clonetab architecture, how it's going to help you in speeding up the overall clone and overall disaster recovery of eBusiness Suite database and so on and so forth. And followed by, I'll take you to the actual Clonetab application, the user interface, and run a eBusiness Suite clone, eBusiness Suite disaster recovery, and also a database clone. I'll take a large database like 10 terabyte database and then demonstrate all three of them completing in less than 30 minutes. Of course, these are like single node environments for demo purposes. And typically we say the product can clone in about an hour approximately if it's a single node. But the demo environment, definitely you can see that happening in less than 30 minutes. Of course, every customer environment is different, and they may have some customizations that are not provisioned within the Clonetab standard functionality. And you have capability to run your custom scripts and so on as part of your post-clone steps. You can precisely define where you want to run after completion of so-and-so subtask and so on. And we would not know how long that would take. So take the timing and take the storage savings and so on with a pinch of salt. Okay, so I'm going to the next slide. And this is about the architecture. The top right, whatever you are seeing, let's call this as your production database and application. So everything together, it could be rack, it could be non-rack, it could be on Exa-CS or Exadata with say application nodes, multiple application nodes with load balancer, whatever it is. So collectively, let us call them as production, and that includes the database binaries, application binaries, archive logs, and the DBF files and configurations. Now, assuming you want to implement Clonetab, you would be provided with a appliance. And this is a OVF kind of template, open virtualization format. And this template can be imported into your VMware if you are on-prem. Similarly, it can be imported into AWS, Azure, OCI, and so on and so forth. And remember, we are talking about the ERPs like Oracle eBusiness Suite, Oracle PeopleSoft, and Oracle Databases here primarily. So once you have this appliance up and running, it has its own operating system, which is Oracle Enterprise Linux. It has various Java and AI-based engines. They do the cloning, they do the virtualization, they do the monitoring, and so on and so forth. And it also has a Apache Tomcat web server that helps you to use this application through the browser. And then it also has Oracle XC database, which is freely distributable database from Oracle. So this acts as a repository, centralized repository. And this is holding most of the information as to which is your source, which is your target, who are the users, what are their privileges, when are the clones or disaster recovery or scrambling kind of job scheduled. So all that information is stored in this repository. And of course, wherever confidential fields are there, they are all encrypted in a secure way. And now after this appliance is ready, we also seek some storage from you. It could be cloud storage, it could be say from OCI, it could be from Azure, it could be AWS, and so on and so forth. And we recommend going with the all flash kind of storage. Spin disks are usually slow. And then we also recommend that you have about at least 10 gig network bandwidth within the Clonetab ecosystem, meaning between your production EBS and Clonetab appliance, and between Clonetab appliance and your target non-prod EBS, PeopleSoft, Oracle database environments. Now, once you have all of this, very first time you are going to register your production as a source, and then you invoke a full backup, which is similar to your regular RMN backup. And we read the data and then compress it, and we call it as gold image. So basically it is getting back into your storage. It could be NAS, it could be SAN, it could be your cloud storage, whatever it is. So that is coming into the appliance, and a logical volume is created, and that is mounted on your production. So your production sees it as a local mount point, and then we are invoking the RMN on your production to do a full backup very first time. After that, we only do incremental backup. So only the delta or the changed blocks are read and appended to the gold. So how that is accomplished? Obviously, you need to enable block change tracking. So when you do that, the incrementals are very fast. Otherwise, it has to read through and then figure out what are the changed blocks. Now, we also can copy these binaries onto Clonetab appliance or orchestrate a copy from production to your non-prod environments during the clone with respect to the binaries like Oracle binaries and Oracle application binaries like AppleTop, CommonTop, 10.2, and so on and so forth. Now, assuming you have, say, 3 environments that you need to clone. So you register all the 3 into Clonetab UI. And after this incrementals are done, Clonetab is automatically taking the snapshots. So you can make use of those snapshots and then clone the target environment. Alternatively, you can take ad hoc snapshot if you want. You can also do point in time recovery until SC and until sequence kind of recovery if you think that's a need. And these snapshot can be retained for a certain number of days depending on your snapshot retention policy. So you can say, I want to do backdated refreshes for 30 days. That means you have to provision the storage for up to 30 days approximately. So here you are getting multiple advantages when you're doing the cloning through this technology. One, because the dedupe is done here, your storage consumption goes down drastically. So assuming your prod database size is about say 10 terabytes, you provide 10 terabyte storage LUNs to Clonetab appliance. Within the 10 terabyte, we may be able to house and accommodate anywhere between 5 to 10 non-prod environments, assuming the right activity, the inserts, updates, deletes, and so on, are less than about 5%. So similarly, while we are cloning, we are not copying this gold image or any part of it onto the target non-prod environments. What it means is there's no copy time. So all we are doing is taking a snapshot and mounting that snapshot of the database files onto your DBF kind of path where you have all the DBF files. So you can delete all of them and that storage is released. So you're not paying the storage costs to the cloud operator. You only pay this one. So 1X typically can accommodate, say, about 5 non-prod environments. So you're substantially saving the storage as well. Now, how long does it take to clone this way? Typically, a single node environment, as I said, could be taking like 30 minutes or so. But if you are adding the additional post-clone functionality, then obviously whatever time it takes for those post-clone tasks, that should be added. Similarly, if you have applied any patch on your production side of it between the current clone and previous clone, then you may have to do a full clone. That means typically you can do quick clone, meaning if you have not applied any patch on EBS, database or application side, you can do a quick clone. Otherwise, you have to do the regular clone. So for regular clone, how much time does it take? If it is single node, probably that 30 minutes plus the whatever time it takes for running the Oracle standard program called ADConfig clone. Typically, that is what it takes. And I would estimate it to be like 2.5 hours for a single node. If it is multiple nodes, obviously we may have to run these programs on other nodes as well. So there are 3 advantages that you are getting. One, the time saving. Second, the storage saving. Third, the overhead saving. So people are not waiting for the environment to be ready, like if it's taking 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. So your development team or testing team is not waiting that many days. So your end client need not pay those costs. So those overheads are also saved. Now, assuming you have license for the CT Snap as well, you can take snapshots of your non-prod environments, which you can use for backup purposes. You can also take snapshot and then apply some patches like mega patches and so on from Oracle. Test them. If they are fixing your main issue, then it will go to next level, and so on till it goes to production. But if it is not satisfactory, then within Clonetab UI, you have a slider. Simply slide it back to the previous incarnation or previous snapshot, and your database binaries, application binaries, all the configurations, everything will be moved back to the previous state in less than 5 minutes. And this is all like virtual clones that we are doing here. And you also have capability to do block level clones. Of course, there is no storage saving with the block level clone, but maybe for UAT or some other purposes, you want exact replica like your production. So you can do that if you have a need. And now this is all, say, within one cloud environment. And this Clonetab appliance typically sits near your target non-prod environments. So if you have EBS, say on AWS, and in zone 2, for example, the Clonetab appliance also would go to zone 2, whereas your production may be in zone 1. Now this entire appliance can replicate itself to a second data center or a different zone on the cloud. That way it can be used for your DR purposes as well. So assuming your production went down, Clonetab can bring up your production equivalent in the form of disaster recovery EBS environment, again in less than maybe an hour or so. If you have not applied any patch, typically that is what it is. But then if you have applied some patches and you have not done any regular sync, then probably it could take about 2 hours or so. But it's really very fast. And you can use this second appliance, and you can also bring up your non-prod environments if you wish in the second data center or second cloud. So this is about the architecture. The same thing when it comes to mix. Say, for example, you have ExaCS or rack environments. Some of them are rack and some are non-rack. So we can maintain multiple copies. One copy for the ASM file system, another copy for the non-ASM file system. So the Clonetab appliance will take care of that. Of course, the storage will be little higher because the compressed gold here would be normally like 50%. But not every customer would get that compression. So if you have enabled the encryption like TDE or something like that, you may not get any compression in the gold image, but within the target environments, you still get the savings. So using this, you can create your ASM virtual targets. And if you don't have rack on some of the environments, then you can have NFS virtual targets. So this is how we can service your multiple business needs, some being on the rack, some not non-rack, and so on. So now I'll take you to the actual application and then show you how that looks like. So we'll try to kick off the clone, and that will be running behind the scenes. And then we'll revisit, like we'll go through some of the UI components, and then you can also pose any questions where we should be able to answer those, and so on and so forth. So now I'm logged into the Clonetab appliance. So as you can see, I opened a browser, gave a URL, and then gave the user ID password. So once I log in, it takes us to the central dashboard. And within the dashboard, on the top left, you have the menus. These are like main menus, the dashboard, administration, tasks, and so on. So out of these 6, like some of them have the sub menus. So under administration, I have like global parameters. I can manage the passwords for the team. I can register the source, register the target EBS, PeopleSoft, database, and so on. Similarly, under tasks, I should be able to create my tasks like doing the refresh. I can also monitor these tasks and all of that. And there are reports which are useful for seeing like how long did it take to clone and so on and so forth. The next zone, you are seeing the source databases. So you have like 3 registered and all 3 are up and running and nothing is down. Same way the targets, again, we have 3 of them, all 3 are up and running. Down below, we have engines, which you can start and stop just by clicking on them. 3 of the engines are currently up and running. And same way there are tasks and the progress bars are shown here. And then next at the top, you see EBS environments. So this is like a vision environment. It's about 186 gig, the source, which is used as production here. And once we take the gold, it's taking up like 54. That is like you're getting like 60+% compression. So it's taking up meager space. Same way the target is shown like 0. So it is recently cloned. So I've not done any inserts, updates, deletes. So it doesn't require any additional storage at this point. Same way, if I pick up any of my other environments, say I'm taking a database. So the database is about 10 terabytes here. And once I take the compressed gold, the gold is only taking up 1.3 terabytes. So I'm getting like 87% storage saving here. And my target is taking up 0. So the longer the duration I leave this without cloning, the higher could be the storage consumption. But typically it won't cross more than 5%-ish for most customers. And next to that, you have the storage utilization kind of circular charts where you see the free space and use space for the data pool, and the next one is for the read pool. Down below, you have the targets that are registered, whatever is up and running, whatever is down, and so on. They are all shown. So if it is shown with a little green dot and shows up, these are all like up and running. So I want to bring down one of my environments for demonstrating a DR today. So what I'm going to do is I'll pick a eBusiness Suite 12.9 environment. I'll click on this stop button and then clicking on proceed. So it'll kick off a background process and then it'll stop the environment. So that way we can use this environment for the DR purpose. While that process is running, we can start off with the rest of our activities. And further down below, you have the task related information and the dashboard itself. We'll revisit some of these screens once we kick off the clone. So that way the clone is running behind the scenes, and then we can talk about other aspects of it. So I'm going to the task management, and then the stop activity for this 12.9 environment is still in progress. While this is running, let's add a new process, new target task rather. So I'm picking a task type of refresh. So I'm going to do a refresh, and it's asking me like, what is my target that I want to refresh? So since I already picked a 12.9 in this demo environment for the PR purpose, I'm going to pick 12.6 environment for the clone purpose. And I'm picking the appropriate 12.6 environment as the source. Once I do that, I can say next. And then it'll take me to the place where I can schedule these tasks. So I can pick calendar, date, and time. I can also repeat this. I can say repeat this every Sunday, every Monday, every Tuesday, and so on. I'm not doing that. I'm saying simply immediate, and then going to next. And in this screen, I can pick which snapshot I should be using. So I'm saying use the snapshot. And I'm also saying use, say, 14th November snapshot. I'm leaving the rest of the values with the defaults. So I can also change this if I want to. I can say until time and give the time values. I can give until sequence and give the sequence values if I want to do the recovery. Of course, when you do the recovery, it has to use all your archive logs and it may take a little longer time depending on how much it has to recover. If you want to schedule clones, like say for next 1 year, next 1 month, and so on, daily, instead of coming to the screen, you can simply say use the latest snapshot. So it will identify which is the latest available snapshot and it will clone using that for you. And then in the next one, this is where I can set some additional tasks within this main task. So I can change my app's password, system's password, and so on. I can also choose whether I want to do a quick refresh or full refresh. So I'm picking a quick refresh for the demo purpose because we have limited time. And then in the last screen, this is where I can click on validate button and it will connect, and then it will do the validations behind the scenes. Like it will use the user ID and password and validate. It will use the appropriate ports and so on and so forth. For now, to save the time, I'm simply skipping the validation and creating the task. So again, it's showing, okay, my source is this 12.2.6.1.2.3 and my target is 12.2.6.1.2.2 and city clone with the snapshot and SEN. And so I'm clicking on proceed. So it has created a task and the new task got created in my task queue. So it is 2240. It's in pending status, as you can see. My stop task is already completed for my 12.2.9 environment. If I click on refresh button, then this is in progress. Just to validate, if you want to monitor it, you can click on dashboard. And within the dashboard, it should have created one more task. So this task is progressing. And the task ID, as you can see, is 2240. This task has about 33 subtasks, of which it has already completed 3 subtasks. So while this is running, if you want to monitor it, you have some buttons here. So the first button will take you to the task. The second one will take you to monitor a task screen. The third one will stop the task. So if you want to monitor, you simply click on monitor button, and then it'll take you and highlight the currently running subtask. As you can see earlier in the previous screen, you saw it completed 3, right? So it's currently running the 4th task. So whatever it is doing, the live logs are coming here, as you can see. We'll now go back to the task screen. We'll kick off another task. So this time we'll do the disaster recovery. So I'm clicking on add. So this time I'm going to pick activate DR. So activate disaster recovery. And I'm picking the 12.2.9 environment and the appropriate 12.2.9 source. And like I did for the clone, for the DR as well, I'm going to pick immediate. And then I'm going to pick the refresh options again, say use the snapshot and pick the latest available snapshot with default SEN number and whatever. And then in the advanced options, again, I'm going to pick just the quick refresh. I can give, say, new password for the systems and so on. If I do that, it'll take a little longer, maybe another 30 seconds, 1 minute, whatever. Again, I'm going to the last screen. So this is where I'm going to skip the validation and create a task. So again, it's showing the activate DR with 12.2.9 environments, and I created the task. The task is in pending state and click on refresh. It's in process. You want to monitor it. Again, go to the dashboard. It should have created one more taskbar. So this is again the next progress bar that is currently running. Now we'll also kick off a third task where we are going to do a 10 terabyte database clone, not e-business suite. So I'm going to click on add button. And this time again, I'm going to pick a refresh. And then I'm picking the target instance, which is a database, and I'm picking the appropriate database from the drop down. Then again, like I did the previous times, picking the immediate, then picking the turning on the snapshot, picking the appropriate snapshot value, and leaving the defaults. Then in the advanced options, I'm going to pick the quick refresh option. And then in the validations, I can click on validate button. So if I click on that, it's going to make those connections and check if all those user ID password combos are working. And it'll also validate other things. And then it'll show like a green dot with completed next to it. So all of them should be completed, and then it'll show completed at the bottom. Then you should be able to create. So as you can see, now it is showing the completed at the bottom. Now I can create the task. So again, it is displaying the instance, source, target, and whatever. So clicking on done, and then it's in pending state. The new task is 2242. Click on refresh. So the 2242 is also in progress. All three tasks are in progress. Now, if you want to monitor that, again, you can go back to the dashboard and you can see like what is the current state. So you have the cloning of EBS, DR of EBS, and database cloning, all three running simultaneously. And you want to monitor, as I said, you can click here, monitor task, and go there. Now I'll show you how the registration happened, like how you were able to pick those values from the drop down and so on. So you need to go to the administration main menu, and there are several sub screens here, sub menus. So like global parameters. So you can provide where the Clonetab appliance is, what is the host name, and various user ID passwords, and where the alert should be sent, the SMTP host, and some user ID passwords. You can also integrate with Active Directory instead of creating your users locally within the Clonetab appliance if you wish to go that route. Then you have password wallet. So you can come here and you can store your passwords like EBS passwords, Unix passwords, database passwords, and so on. And you also have user management. So this is where you can create the users and grant them the privileges. So simply click on add. You provide the username, first name, last name, some passwords, and all of that. And on the right hand side, you have several privileges. So you can provide the privileges like say compliance manager. This person, whoever has it, can define which field under which table under which schema should get scrambled using which algorithm. So this is a one-time definition, and no one else can see it unless they have appropriate privilege. The second one is the view compliance manager. This is read only, and this person can see what is getting scrambled but cannot change it. And all others, unless they are super users, they cannot even see that. So Clonetab administrator is a super user who can do everything within the appliance. Refresh administrators can only do the refresh related tasks. Patch admins can do patch related tasks. Services administrators can do start, stop, restart of the EBS environment or PeopleSoft environment or database and so on. I'm not going to create any user here. And then I'll go to source instance management. This is where my registered sources are, and I'll pick one of the EBS environment just to show how the registration is done. So first, obviously, you need to pick instance type, whether this is EBS, PeopleSoft, database, and so on. And PeopleSoft works with other database types as well. So here for EBS, obviously it defaults to Oracle. And then next screen is where you have basic info, like you can say this is production environment. So once you check this, turn this on, it will never appear in the target non-prod environments list. So nobody can accidentally overwrite your production. Same way you can use this for SQL Self Service and City Snap, and you want to use sudo users instead of Apple MGR or Oracle. So you can also use that by turning this switch on. And then next one is database node. So you provide the service name or SID, database port number for your source. Similarly, if you have 19C related info, then you provide that container, pluggable, and all of that. And then systems is password and so on are provided in the screen. So this is all like one-time activity. And then you can go to the application node, EBS admin node. So this is where you are providing which is the host that is housing the application. Similarly, the user ID and password, who owns these binaries, and apps password, all these are provided here. And if you have encrypted like TDE or something like that, then you provide that information here. And then the last one is, this is where you're doing the initial full backup using RMAN and subsequent incremental backups only. So here you click on launch level 0 very first time when you're doing this. So you should only use this once. So after that, it is doing automatic incremental backups at the scheduled time. Or if you wish to do ad hoc snapshots, you can also do that. So here I'm defining like use 4 RMAN channels for incrementals. So very first time for the full backup also. Same way I can give my schedule. I can give custom schedule, or I can say do this once every day. And here it is defined at 1 a.m. So every night at 1 a.m. do the incremental. Again, for snapshot retention policy, I have 3 days. So that means I want to repurpose the older snapshots that are more than 3 days old if it is not already wedded to a cloned environment. So that way my storage space can be repurposed, so my costs can go down. So this is how you define and register your source. And same way we can do the target. So I'm going to target, and I'm going to, so most of our targets, like 2 of them are currently down, and the DR environment has already come up. So I'm just clicking on one of them just to show how the registration is done. The source type, again, I'm saying this is meant for cloning. I can also use this for scrambling and SQL Self Service. Instance type is EBS with database Oracle. And then the database primary node info. So I'm providing the SID or service name, some port numbers, and so on. Similarly, container, pluggable kind of information. So basic information provided one time. And then the next one is context data. So this is where I have the context information for the application and database nodes. And Clonetab is intelligent enough so it can understand how many nodes you have, and it will automatically populate that many subtabs under this. This is non-rack environment, and I have only single node. So it's populating only one subtab. If this were to be a 5-node rack, then automatically it will populate 5 subtabs and pull all the 5 node related information and show that here. Same way for the under the application node. This is a single node, so I have only one subtab. Otherwise, it will show all the other subtabs as well, and it will check the appropriate switches based on the information. And then you can pick the refresh options. This is where the beauty of the system helps you. This is where you have several post-clone steps that you can completely automate without doing any customization. But of course, there could be some gaps. Not everything can be accomplished. So we cannot even foresee what you are going to do once you have this product. So you can add custom scripts in the last tab. So here, if you want to retain the database links, so you turn this on, Clonetab's engine will connect to the target and read all the DB links and then store them in its repository. And then after the clone is done, it will restore them. Same way, there are n number of other options. Say, for example, you want to retain the workflow, and at the same time, you want to ensure that the alerts from non-prod are not being sent to some production user. So you can give a test address and all the workflow setups would be working fine, but they would not bother the production users with this. So that way you have the functionality here. Same way, if you want to retain some profile options, say you are doing a dev clone, and dev has some specific profile options. So you can turn this on. You can search what profile options you want to retain. Say I'm going to retain FND some profile option. So I'm typing FND% and clicking on the search button. So it'll pull all the FND related information and all the profile options. So I want to retain this. So whatever I want to retain, I'll turn them on. So that way the value of this profile option and this profile option, they are read, and that information is downloaded onto the Clonetab appliance using FND loader. And after the clone is done, it will restore these values back. So this is how you can retain most of the custom stuff. So same way, like you don't need to run any custom script so long as the functionality is provided within the screen. So you have functionality for PCP settings. You have functionality for active EBS users and their responsibilities, profile options, custom files and folders that you want to retain, retain DB users, workflow. You can change the schema passwords and so on. And you can keep the DB links. And so there are various pieces that you can make use of. So with all this, you should be able to complete your post-clone steps as well. But every customer is different. So in case you have a business need where you want to run some custom scripts, then you register them here. So you can simply click on add button and you can say, this is my description. So whatever you want to give, full qualified path and parameters for your script. You can even say run this after completion of so and so subtask, like after the create database is completed, for example. Same way, you can pick the script type, whether it is SQL, Shell, Perl, and which host it should be run. You may have like multiple hosts and you can pick whatever. Here in this example, it's single node. So obviously you'll have only one. And same way, you can pick the username. You can make it active or inactive. You can even copy the scripts from another environment to this environment and so on. So this is how the registrations happen. And any monitoring that you want to do, you can go to the task screen, and under monitor tasks, you should be able to see the tasks that are running, whatever is completed and so on. So now let's go back to the dashboard. I want to leave ample time for question answers. That way you can pose your questions. So the third task is completed, 2242, which is the, I think, database clone. The other two are still running. And while this is running, maybe we need to give in a few more minutes. So Chandra, you can open the questions. And if there are any questions in the chat, maybe Ganesh can answer them.
Sure. So, I mean, there are questions. Probably I'll read out the question and you can answer. One question is, does this encrypt or scramble sensitive data, and how does it know what to scramble or what to encrypt?
So there is a UI screen. So in the tasks, you need to, there is a advanced defined data masking screen. So this is where you can click on add button and you need to say, these are my fields that I want to scramble. So the database type, say for example, I want to pick Oracle, and same way target name, which is my target. So like that, I pick them, and in the schema details, I pick the table schema rather, then all tables are shown. And under each table, whatever field that I want to scramble, those are shown. And then I pick the appropriate algorithm. And Clonetab will also provide you with a template for the modules that you want to license. And you can use that template as is. But if you have, say, customizations and so on, you can also make changes to those templates. Hope I
So
answered the question.
I'll encourage all the attendees to type in your question in the question box. One more question that I'll read out. Uh, what about accidental overrides? I mean, is there any protection for that?
So if you have the CT Snap license, so you can always take snapshots. And if you have the snapshot, you can revert it. And these clones are so fast. So if you don't have any project that is running on the given environment, even if you have accidental override, you can always clone it in just a couple of hours, less than 2 hours. And as I said, if you have snapshot license, you can revert it back to the snapshot.
Another question, does Clonetab, how do you ensure Clonetab complies to, our system that we have the compatibility that systems we have?
So Clonetab is intelligent enough. The Clonetab appliance itself runs on Oracle Enterprise Linux. Current version is 9.3. But it understands when you are registering what operating system your e-business suite is running on. So it knows, say, for example, you have Solaris, it knows that you have Solaris. If you are running it on Linux, it knows that. Same way if you are running it on Exadata and so on, it knows that. So like that, it knows it's intelligent enough and it will maintain that integrity, whatever is needed. So if I've not answered the question fully, elaborate your question, please.
Sure. So for now, I think we don't have further questions. So maybe probably if you have anything else, Venkat, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So now the refresh of EBS and TR of the EBS both are still running. So there are several other items that you can see here. So I'm going to take you to the ad hoc snapshot. So Ganesh, would you be able to kick off a ad hoc snapshot and demonstrate how a ad hoc snapshot can be done?
Yes. Yes, if we want to start the ad hoc backup on any particular source, we can go to administration. And from there onwards, we can go to source instance management. And we can click actions button for the particular source where we want to launch the ad hoc. Can go to manage data synchronization schedules. And here we have a button called ad hoc snapshot. Then click this button. And we can launch. If we want to add any comment for this ad hoc backup, we can add the comments here and we can launch the backup.
Thank you, Ganesh.
Okay, after launching the ad hoc backup, if we want to monitor the backup, if it is running or not, we can go to tasks and monitor tasks. Here again, we can go to CT clone task list, where you can see just now we launched the ad hoc, which is in process. And if you want to see the process, we can click on view button there. So here the RMN launched the backup and it is still running.
Okay, thank you, Ganesh.
Yeah.
Probably quickly we can tell you about ourselves. Clonetab, as Venkat has already told, we are more than a decade-old organization now, and we are a global organization. We have a clientele, they are mid to large, even Fortune 500 clientele. And we are DBAs, right? So we have walked in your shoes We know the in and outs. We know the daily challenges that a DBA team faces. We know the gaps that are there in between DBA teams and application teams. So, Clonetab was started with this, concept in mind to reduce all these pains and all these challenges and bring automation to DBA team to help them. And keeping that in mind, we have developed multiple products. So we have a suite of products. So we call it the DBA Powerhouse. Uh, Venkat has already shown multiple products to you. So we have CT Clone, which is a rapid cloning solution that we have already seen. We have Data Scrambling solution. We have CI/CD, that is we call SQL Self Service. So the application team can, you know, manage the SQL scripts by themselves rather than all the time requesting it to the DBA team. We have backup solution, DR solution, we have snapshot solution for lift and shift. Already, Venkat showed you how it works. We have Oracle home patching solution, so you can automate, whatever patches are coming for databases. Uh, and also obviously we have TaskDB, which is meant for Exadata environments. So in all, we have created the DBA Powerhouse. It's a complete automation solution, handles multiple tasks and reduces, the manual errors. So security and, compliances, everything can be met with this. Venkat, do you want to add something more? I mean, we have to this.
Yeah, you have covered it well.
So I think that's it for today, and I would request all of you, if you have any further questions, do write to us. We will be more than happy to answer your questions. I think most of the tasks have been already completed, right?
So as you
So
can
you can,
see, the activate DR typically was taking about 22 minutes. And the database only clone about 10 terabytes. This completed in about 12 minutes. And EBS clone took about 23 minutes. So this is based on the report, just for your additional information.
that's great. So again, you can write to me. My email should be there with you. That is j.chandra@clonetab.com. So anytime you have any questions, if you want further demonstration to your people in your organization, we'll be more than happy to do that. Thank you again. Thank you, Venkat. Thank you, Mark, for being here.
Thanks, everyone.